Greetings, everybody. I am the Starving Martian, and a few weeks ago, we took a look at a bunch of Yoda action figures from the Star Wars prequel movies. And we're taking a look at even more today because we just scratched the surface last time of what I have in bins stored in the attic. Back in the day, my wife was quite the Yoda enthusiast, and she acquired multiple figures, and so we're looking at more from the prequel trilogies right now. Now this guy here is the Star Wars Power of the Force Yoda with cane and boiling pot, because nothing says action figure like a cane and a boiling pot. And clearly this guy is from Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, as he's all decked out for life in Dagobah. But what makes this guy a Episode 1 figure is this little bit right here. Alright, you see it says Episode 1 Flashback Photo. So, here's what was going on. Back in the 90s, the Star Wars Power of the Force line was how we kids in the 90s had Star Wars figures from the first 3 movies. And they were excellent. They were very well made, came with good accessories, and there's figures, playsets, etc. And this was the last wave of Power of the Force figures before it switched over to Episode 1 figures. And, back in the day, the internet existed, but many of us didn't have access to it. So if you wanted to know what was going to happen, what you're going to see in the new movie, this is what you did. You would go into your local Walmart, and you would find these figures, and right here is this nice picture of Yoda sitting in Dagobah. But if you take this little bit and pull it down, there you go, Episode 1 Yoda. Oh, that's what he's going to look like in the new movie. Look at that. He's got a red chair. A red chair. I've never seen Yoda on a red chair before. And in fact, if you turn it around, you get a little side-by-side compare, just the same pictures, really. And a picture of some of the other figures in the line, and you were told that coming in the summer of 1999 to galaxies everywhere would be Star Wars Episode 1, with new characters, vehicles, and worlds. All from your friends at Kenner. So yeah, that was before Episode 1 even came out. The camera's way at an angle. There we go. Before Episode 1 even came out, this is how you had an idea of what was coming. But let's take a look at an actual Episode 1 figure. Alright, this guy's rather odd. I have no idea where my wife or I acquired him, or when, or how, or even particularly why. This is a Japanese Yoda figure from Star Wars Episode 1. He's in that chibi kind of super cute, super deformed sort of thing going for him. So there he is. You have to kind of put the box at an angle to see him good. And he talks. He's got, it shows you on the bottom here. You're supposed to hold him in your hands and he'll talk. He's got these heat sensitive bits on his feet, similar to those like little Easter chicks you might have seen. You put them in your hands and they chirp. So you would put him in your hands and he would say one of 2 lines. May the Force be with you. And then fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And they are written in English, which leads me to believe he probably speaks in English, or spoke in English. I have no idea if he still works. But that's interesting because almost all the writing on the package is in Japanese. So, if you can read Japanese, there's some warnings for you here. Some pictures of the other figures in the line. And that's about it for him. So yeah, he's a pretty neat figure. He's rather unique. Don't have anything else like him, so that's pretty cool. Next up, okay, this is another one from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, but it was actually put out a little bit later. You see the packaging here with the lightsaber held up like that. This is indicative of the next movie, the Attack of the Clones. But this is right in the corner here, the Phantom Menace. This is the Jedi High Council, set 2 of 2, containing characters named Yariel Poof, Depa Bilaba, I guess, and Yaddle. So Yaddle's the one we're interested in right now, and there she is. Yaddle is a female of Yoda's species. And as far as I know, this was the only way to get her action figure, was in this 3-pack. So I'm getting in as close as the package allows. You can see she comes with the exact same chair accessory that Yoda came with. But she has slightly finer, more delicate features. I think her ears are a little smaller, a little slimmer. And she has a head of this wavy reddish-brown hair. So, I don't know if Yoda's hair was the same color before it turned white, or if members of his species also have various hair colors as do members of ours. But there you go. So that's Yaddle, the female of Yoda's species. And like I said, I believe this is the only way you can acquire one of these, unless you find it loose on eBay, of course. And here's the other 2 figures that she comes with. And they make a nice display on their own there. So here's another one from Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This is the electric talking Ask Yoda. Press my left hand, you will, he says. Alright, he includes 24 phrases. He's got nice, like, realistic rubbery skin. Nice cloth fabric cloak there. Turn him around, you can see some scenes from Episode 2. Get your biography on the back, along with instructions of how to use Yoda. And amazingly, this guy still works. So let's ask Yoda a question or two. You squeeze his hand.
The Force and its wisdom are all around us. Ask you will a yes or no question. Sense the Force in my left hand. Press it and answer you, I will.
All right. So what do we want to know? Okay, Yoda, will Star Wars Episode 9 be any good?
Difficult to see. Always in motion, the Force.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I figured. So, I'm going to keep this guy out for a little while. He's just all sorts of fun. If you guys have any questions you want me to ask Yoda, let me know, and perhaps in a future video we'll bring him back out. Hey, Yoda, am I ever going to strike it rich?
Yes, I feel this will be.
Awesome. I love you, Yoda. You are the best. Yoda will eventually shut himself down, and he'll say a little line about... well, pretty much, if you don't want to talk to me, fine, we're not talking. So, if he interrupts me in a couple minutes, that's what's going on there. So let's move Yoda out of the way and bring out yet another Attack of the Clones Yoda. This is Attack of the Clones Yoda and Cheyenne? I don't know how you pronounce that. But this is actually one of my favorite Attack of the Clones Yoda figures, because it just has him doing what Yoda does best. He's just being a teacher. And he comes with a youngling, and he's teaching him lightsaber control methods. And he's got his tiny little lightsaber there. That's good for practicing, but not good for holding off Anakin Skywalker when he comes in to slaughter you. Yoda comes with his own lightsaber and a little walking stick. And he's got this really cool hovering chair. Of course, it doesn't hover per se. You can see on the back that it's simply on this translucent bit of plastic, but it gives the impression that he's just floating there. And so you can see that him lightsaber training with his young apprentice. Got a bio for the both of them, and then more figures in the line down below. So, not much to this one, very basic. This is from Collection 2, from Episode 2, but a really nice figure. I do like this one. Alright, now, as we pointed out last time around, in between Episode 2 and Episode 3, there was the Clone Wars. And of course, Clone Wars is best known today for a computer-generated cartoon series that it had. And there were figures. Thank you, Yoda. Anyway, and so there was a number of figures put out for that line, including one for Yoda. And we're not looking at it today. Now, this Clone Wars figure is from an earlier cartoon on Cartoon Network. And these cartoons that they put out were like short little 2 to 5 minute blurbs. They would eventually be collected together on DVD. And they had their own unique animation style. And so here's Yoda, looking very operatic. His cloak's flowing out behind him, and his lightsaber is up in the air, and it's a picture of him from the show. It's not a bad figure per se, but it's one of these ones that I would, if you were a kid, I imagine you'd have a hard time really playing with, because it's just in this one action pose. And he could probably move his arms and head around, but his cloak's always going to be behind. I don't know. It's better collectible piece than I think it would be a kid's toy. Of course, I'm using it as a collectible piece, so I don't know what I'm complaining about. You can see there, as seen on the Cartoon Network, there's the Clone Trooper. Turn him around for yet another biography on Yoda. And by now, we really know who and what Yoda is. There he is again in cartoon form. And some more figures in the line. Alright, and now, after Clone Wars, comes Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And we're going to take a look at holographic Yoda from Toys R Us exclusive. Man, I miss Toys R Us already. I've always loved these figures, the hologram figures, the ghost figures, the translucent ones you can see through. And obviously it's just an older Yoda figure. This is from one of the earlier Revenge of the Sith figures, but they just redid it in this translucent plastic. But it's a really nice plastic they use, and I don't know how well it's going to come out through my camera lens and through this bubble that it's in, but it's not sparkly, but it's got this weird bluish, purplish tinge, and it's just really, really well done. And there's a picture of hologram Yoda. On the back, some pictures of the guy from various movies, which is kind of nice. Nice overview. He had another biography. You know, I just always liked these guys. I used to have the Obi-Wan Kenobi ghost that was a mail away. So anytime it's got a sparkly figure you can see through, that's a plus in my book. And we will end with Star Wars Unleashed. It says Yoda versus Sidious. Now, Star Wars Unleashed is an action figure line put out specifically for the adult collector, and so it doesn't bother me as much that they're only in this one pose. What does bother me is Yoda's ridiculously long cloak. If you're that short, you do not wear cloaks that long, I'm sorry. But he's seen here in an action pose, battling Darth Sidious. And you get a little bit of idea what it's going to look like. You have to really turn it around. And this shows you what the diorama looks like. So you could adjust it a bit if you want them to just be jumping like that, or if you want them to actually be clashing sabers. That cloak annoys me. I don't know why, but it does. But they do have it transition to this translucent bit. So the idea is that this is like the Force lifting him up, I guess. I don't know, but it doesn't really work for me. But you know, the figure itself is still cool. And again, more figures in the line down below. I actually used to own the Boba Fett from the Star Wars Unleashed line. So there he is. And that'll about cover it for now. Alright guys, well, this has been the Starving Martian. We'll catch with you next time. Keep watching the skies.